everybody. So glad you could join us. I'm here with the lovely Tabby, and we're going to be talking about her series, The Warriors of Bria. I have to bring up the questions.
No
I was
problem.
running a bit late today, so just give
No
me a
problem.
second. Awesome. Okay. So do you want to say a little bit something about yourself before we get started in the questions?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Tabby, TM Kohl, and I write fantasy fiction. Right now, the current series I'm working on is The Warriors of Brea, which I've had 4 published now of that series, and I'm working on the 5th and final book in the series.
Exciting. I have read her series quite recently, and I have loved it so far. So definitely check it out if you have not. I have, before I forget, I have Tabby's Amazon author page in the description. So if you guys like what you hear, you guys can just easily find it. And yeah, I definitely highly recommend it. I'm so excited for book 5.
Me too.
Okay, you ready to get in the questions?
Let's do it.
Awesome. Question 1. What's your WIP about? If it's a sequel, you can talk about the overall story, including previous books.
Okay, so the series overall is about this young woman named Lauren who, through kind of actually really horrifying circumstances, gets transported to this other world called, and she ends up in a place called Brea. She learns that there's a lot more to her past than she previously knew. Like her parents are not who she thought they were. And she also has some powers that she didn't realize she had until coming to this new world and getting to know the people there, having to learn the language. And over the course of the series, she learns how to fully harness her powers, and it confronts like a evil figure who's also been like in the background for a very long time. So yeah, it's like epic fantasy. It's a portal fantasy. Like new adult fantasy. She's in her 20s, so yeah, that's my series.
Nice. Yeah. And I do think that anyone who likes Avatar: Last Airbender would like this.
Oh yes, yeah. It's got a lot of inspiration from Avatar: Last Airbender, or like if you liked the Chronicles of Narnia, you might like it, or even like if you liked the TV show Stargate SG-1, stuff like that. Like you probably would like this series.
Yeah, I know what I was reading. I got a lot of Avatar vibes.
Yes, for sure.
Question 2. What is your MC like?
Lauren is like the main MC. She is like pretty independent. She likes to do things on her own. She has a very strong sense of like morals, like, you know, what's right and wrong. She doesn't always, like, sometimes she cares what other people think, but kind of when it comes to like practical stuff, she doesn't really care. Like, she tends to maybe accidentally offend others on occasion. And she definitely wants to do what's right and will do whatever it takes to make things right. Like she very much values like making sure people are safe, and like her, especially her friends and family, protecting those people she loves, and not losing people she loves.
Nice. I really like Lauren as the MC.
Yeah, no, I like her too. I wish I could be more like her.
We have a comment here. Avatar and Chronicles of Narnia are really cool comps.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks.
I've never actually read Chronicles of Narnia. I've considered it, but I haven't actually done it.
They're definitely a classics. Like, I think I loved reading them growing up. Very classic fantasy. And the movies from Disney from like 10, 15 years ago. They're pretty good too.
Nice. Question 3. What are your other important characters like?
There's Vol, who is the first person that Lauren comes across when she goes to Brea. And he's very much like a strong, sturdy warrior guy. He isn't the most like talkative. He can be kind of moody. So but he also has a heart of gold. Like he will do, he'll go, uh, an extra mile to protect those he loves and to do what's right and to protect, he's very duty driven too. So he wants to do the right thing according to his culture's like standards and everything. He can be moody in that he like doesn't always like to do what his duty calls for. There's also his brother Vaden, who is more easygoing and rash. He's a singer. Um, and their sister Valora, who is more young and naive and she wants to go on an adventure like them, like her brothers, but has always been stuck where her home is and wasn't allowed to do very much. And I think the other major character who comes later in the series is Radaman, and he's very conflicted. He thinks himself like as kind of like a bad person or dangerous, and has a hard time coming to terms with things from his past or what he's capable of.
Nice. Yeah, hearing you talk about it, I realize I've been pronouncing some of these names wrong.
Oh, no, it's okay. I don't blame anyone for pronouncing them wrong. They're weird names, so.
Well, I love unique names, but at the same time, you're like, am I even pronouncing this right at all?
Sure, no, I get it.
But if you know the author, then you can figure out how to pronounce it right. So,
Right.
first to
Yeah.
go with the author.
Yes.
Question 4. If your MC has a love interest, what is their dynamic like?
Without going too much into spoilers, so Lauren and Val do have like a romantic arc that have some pretty significant obstacles to overcome. They are the type, their dynamic is kind of like they don't start out like, that's not love at first sight. I don't like that trope, so I try to avoid it. And they start out being more like friends or like having a respect for each other that grows more into love and attraction. So their dynamic is kind of like they have these feelings for each other, but they don't know how to go about it just due to their social circumstances. And yeah, I guess it's very, very slow burn. I'll just say that too.
It is. And they also have this whole forbidden lovers arc.
A little bit, yeah. There's a forbidden lover sort of element to it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
I really like them together. There were some moments that had me so happy, but then there were some moments that had me so sad.
I know.
I cannot wait for book 5. Question 5. Who, despite the love interest, is closest to your MC? What is their dynamic like?
There's a couple. So I think Vaden's probably up there. Like, he's good friends with Lauren. And then also her closest friend probably after she gets to Brea would be her servant Atraminda. Like she starts out really hating the fact she has a servant. She doesn't want a servant. It feels awkward to her just because it's, here on Earth or like in America at least, not very many people have servants, and it's kind of a weird concept. So, but she eventually like kind of opens up to Atraminda, and Atraminda opens up to her, and they become really good friends.
Yeah. Question 6. What's your world like? Is it similar to our world? Is it different? How so?
It is similar in that it's like, it doesn't have like alien creatures or anything. It's like the same basic, like similar biomes and stuff. Like there's mountains and trees and animals, and there's a yellow sun. But the cultures are very different just because, they've never had contact with our world. So there's no reason for them to have a similar language or religions or anything. So the cultures are different. Then I had fun making those, like kind of designing those and trying to be inspired by real world cultures on Earth, but trying to make them like different or add a twist to them or something.
Nice.
Yeah.
Question 7. If you write fantasy, what's your magic system?
So I guess the best way to put it would be that there's these warriors who can manipulate like aspects of life or like elements. So there's earth warriors who can manipulate like earth, stone. There's water warriors who can manipulate water. Like, you may be getting the Avatar vibes again. There's fire warriors who can, manipulate fire. But then there's slightly different ones. There's light warriors who can manipulate light, like lightning or even bending light to make them invisible. And then there's also night warriors who they're like the most nebulous of all. They tend to have powers that have to do with the mind, so they can like create illusions for others. They can even like control other people. They might have like strange dreams or they can like feel other people's intentions or emotions. And there's also another sect later in the books that are like kind of like air warriors, but they're not part of the other set of warriors. They're different. Just trust me, bro. Sort of, I guess. And these are all basically the underlying sort of way it works is they all can manipulate energy to some extent, whether it's like mental or psychic energy or like the energy in the rocks or water or whatever.
Nice.
Yeah.
We have another comment. Any tips for taking inspiration for cultures and making it your own in your stories?
Oh yeah. My biggest tip would be to learn about other cultures. Like, if there's an area of the world that really fascinates you, definitely look into like their stories, their religions, their way they dress. That having like a database or like a kind of fountain to draw from is really helpful. And then you can like mix things together, like take something from one culture and something from another culture and combine them in sort of a way, or pay attention to the environment and ask yourself why there might be a certain belief system or value based on their environment. For example, in a cold environment, people might be more like harsh or reserved, just because of it's a harsh and climate, and you can't afford to be super nice to strangers all the time or something, stuff like that. Otherwise, like, I also like reading folk tales from other cultures. That's a really interesting exercise to kind of get the creative juices flowing. um and and then lastly, I'd say uh I mean, if you just like kind of like I was saying earlier, like if you just read a lot, even if it's not something from another culture, just seeing what other people's ideas are can help. Even if it doesn't, don't I'm not saying like steal people's ideas, but like it might inspire something in what you're doing to help be like, oh, I can do this with a certain culture or whatever. Yeah, those are my tips.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was doing because I have a lot of Greek mythology and Greek history, so I kind of put history and mythology together in my current series.
Yeah, makes sense.
And some things I put a little twist on. It's like it actually happened, but I put my own twist on how it happened.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, yep. Question 8: do you like to write major plot twists?
It's fun. Yeah, no, I like to. I don't think I've written like a huge amount in my series. I also don't know how good I am at it, but I do like to. If I can think of a good one, then yes, I'll write it in.
I think what happened, I won't spoil anything, but you'll know what I mean, I'm sure. At the end of book, what was it, 3? No, book 2. At the end of book 2.
Where people end up?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty fun to write. That was a good twist I thought of.
Yeah. That was a good twist.
Yeah.
I was like, what is going on? Book 3 was so fun with where everyone ended up. It was just fun.
Yeah, I agree.
Question 9: what tropes are in your WIP?
I'd say this, this being the final book of the series, the tropes that are specifically in that one are like, big epic battle. There's gonna be a lot of sacrifice. There might be some deaths, unfortunately. um what else? um I always love the trope, like, kind of like, when characters, and I'm not talking about just like maybe who you think I'm talking about, but like even other romance arc characters, like getting their like big romantic moment, or like their big confession of feelings, or big kiss, or whatever. um what else? I think in general for the series, the fish out of water is definitely a big trope. Even reverse fish out of water. And then uh, that's all I can think of off the top of my head. Thinking of tropes in my stories can, it always, like, my brain just goes blank. Oh well, one of them is also like kind of like ancient advanced civilizations. That's a big one. It's personally my favorite trope.
Yeah, we already mentioned that you have forbidden lovers.
Yes. Oh yeah, forbidden lovers. Yep.
And I guess friends to lovers.
Yeah, friends to lovers, and there's a kind of a, I wouldn't say they're like truly enemies, but they don't like each other at first. They end up becoming,
I think I know who you're talking about.
yeah, lovers.
So yeah. It's kind of like because I think there's a word for that too, because there's like full on enemies to lovers, and there's haters to lovers who just hated each other.
Yeah.
There's also rivals to lovers.
They might be rivals to lovers. That might be more accurate.
Because like all of them, they're like not that different, but still different. It's like a fine line to which one is which.
Yeah.
But I'm a little scared after you mentioned the death part. I'm a little scared.
Oopsie.
Question 10. What themes are in your WIP?
Over the whole course of the series, like parenthood or like family is a really big theme. Basically, like parents' choices having an impact on their kids is very, very big theme. Like sibling relationships are a theme because there's lots of siblings. Also things like grief and loss are a big theme, like how to heal from that, or like how to overcome that. Yeah, I think those are the big ones, the big themes. And then I guess, kind of like your standard stuff of like, how can good triumph over evil? Like, what do you have to sacrifice? Like kind of standard stuff for like epic fantasy.
Question 11. What was your inspiration for your WIP?
The whole series very much inspired, kind of like, what we discussed earlier, like Avatar: Last Airbender. I loved that show when I was a teenager. I loved the Chronicles of Narnia books, and always was very fascinated with the idea of what would happen if we went to another world? Like, wouldn't that be crazy, guys? And shows like Stargate SG-1, where it kind of deals with like ancient gods or like evil beings possessing others. And I also really loved the movie Atlantis, The Lost Empire. Like it's a Disney movie from early 2000s, and I just loved that movie, and I still do. But it really inspired like a lot of characters and some of the tropes, like an ancient advanced civilization, and like another trope in my books. I do like the like warrior girl sort of trope. I think those are really cool. So there's a lot of warrior girls in my books.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that trope too. The big warrior girl, the stabby girls, however you want to say.
Definitely stabby girls. And I guess like having different types, like where there's like the, more physical, like a really good swords woman sort of type, like the physical warrior, but also like Lauren, she isn't necessarily good at like physical fighting, but she, has a lot of like psychic powers. So having that kind of warrior too.
Yeah. Question 12. Are you a plotter, a pantser, or somewhere in between? If your WIP is part of a series, how much do you have mapped out for it?
I'm definitely both, like a mix of both. Uh, I have like a general idea of what I want, but a lot of times the details change as I'm writing, or I kind of discover like a whole new avenue and I run with it.
That's pretty much me too.
Yeah, so like usually I like plan out at least the major plot points, but yeah, like things can change. Like you know, several years ago when I was first trying to plan out the series and books, it looks completely different than it's how it's actually turned out like now. Wait, I mean, there's like some major things that have been the same, but overall, it's completely different. And I have, again, like I said, the major plot points set in my mind. I know what I want to do. It's just a matter of like connecting those. Like I don't
Yeah,
always know what I'm gonna do to connect them.
same.
Yeah,
Ellie said, "Warrior stabby
that's
girls."
right. We're Stabby Girls.
Those are the best.
They're the best. I love them.
Me too. Question 13. Who's your favorite character to write in your WIP? If it's your MC, then who is the second?
It can kind of vary, but I think because I think there's an aspect of each that I really like to explore, but I do really like writing from Valora's perspective. I like writing from hers because um, I think I mean, she's kind of suffered like more than most of the other characters, I think, and then like so kind of trying to work through that and seeing where it ends up as like she's gone through so much. How can she really grow from this? And being able to implement that is really special in my opinion. And then I do also really like writing Vol for like especially kind of like without spoilers. In the third book, it was really fun to write from his perspective, just
I
because he
bet.
was thrown into a new situation. We'll just say that. And
It was
uh,
lots of fun to read.
yeah, well, good. I'm so glad. Thanks for. I'm glad you enjoyed it. And but he also can see like I just he's just a good guy, so it's kind of nice to like write from his perspective and um see how he tries to cope with all the like stuff that's going on basically.
Yeah. Ball's reaction to a lot of things in book three had me cracking up so much. It kind of reminded me from book one without giving away
Oh
spoilers.
sure, yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
I think so, yeah, with like the phone, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That scene had me cracking up, and several of Ball's reactions in book three had me
Mhm.
cracking up as well.
Yeah, that was really fun.
Yeah. I could tell it must have been fun to write.
Oh yeah.
Question 14. What's the dynamic like between your MC and villain? If it's not fantasy, then the main character towards your MC.
So it's one of those things where the villain originally wanted to use Lauren and for her own designs, like she wanted to um like basically just like use her as a weapon or like for her own purposes. But then when Lauren kind of defies that or shows that she's not going to do that and she is able to fend the villain off for the time being, the villain decides, okay, you know what, she's got to go. So ever since then her goal has been to kill her. So that's their dynamic. It's a pleasant place to be in.
Question 15. Without being too spoilery, what was your favorite scene to write in your WIP so far?
So far in this current book, my favorite scene to write has been I went ahead, like there was a point where I was just really stuck with the main story. Like I was first of all, because I had a baby recently and it's really hard to write when you have a young baby and your brain is always kind of like mush. But it's gotten, as it's gotten older, it's been easier. So my brain is kind of cleared up. But when I've been stuck, I would just kind of write toward the like parts of the very end prologue or epilogue, excuse me. And this would be like the kind of like in the Harry Potter series. Like this takes place like years after the main story, and it's seeing like how everyone kind of like where they're at and like new kids and everything. So I've really loved writing that and kind of envisioning where they end up, where the characters end up, and being excited about like, okay, they got to get through like the really hard part to get to this good part. So it was fun to write the very end and have like the very end goal in sight.
Nice.
As for the whole old series overall, I think going back to like Vol's experiences himself being a fish out of water was some of my favorite to write for sure.
Yeah, definitely. It was some of my favorite to read. uh, Question 16. If you're writing a series, do you like ending on cliffhangers? Do you plan to end on a cliffhanger in your current WIP?
It is kind of fun. Like, yeah, it is kind of fun to tantalize the readers and be like, you're gonna have to wait. Or like, like kind of like a mic drop moment of like, boom. That is fun. So I do like to do it. A couple of my books do end in cliffhangers. This current one, since it's the last book of the series, there won't be any cliffhangers, thankfully. I won't be mean.
Yeah, I definitely love the cliffhanger at the end of book 2, as I already mentioned, because it's just like a complete 180, a turn of events.
Yeah,
kind of flipping from where the story started.
Right, for sure.
So I am excited to see this epilogue and see how the characters turn out.
Me too. Well, I mean, I finished it, but it could change. Like, I might have to go back and edit stuff. But yeah, like it is really cool to see. This is like the end point, and I am excited to make the this end point and the part where I'm at to match up.
Yeah. I have something planned similar to that for book 3 in my series, which I'm working on. But since they're all monsters and immortal, it'll take like 100 years.
Oh yeah.
So, but I feel like it's gonna be very important because my MC has been through a lot, so it's like her happiness is very important for the end.
Yeah, for sure.
For those tragic characters, it's like very important for them to get their happy ending.
Yes. No, I agree.
Question 17. What's the scene you want to write in your WIP that you're excited for that you haven't gotten to yet?
I am excited to get to like the epic final battle sort of stuff. I've had a lot of those like scenes in my head for a long time, so it'll be nice to get them down on paper. And of course, I'm excited to write like some of the romance stuff, and getting that, finally getting characters together that have been, waiting to get together, multiple sets of characters. So yeah.
Nice. Question 18. What's your favorite thing to write about? A certain type of scene, like fight scenes or romantic scenes and so on.
Romantic scenes can be really fun. Just because you're like, ooh, you're like getting all these bubbly feelings inside of like, oh, they're finally doing something. So that's really nice. I don't really like writing fight scenes. They can be really drag, but I do like writing like descriptions, like when we enter a new place or scene or whatever. I like to think what I see in my head or like what I can smell or feel or whatever, and try to get that down on paper. I like doing that.
Nice. Question 19. What do you love most about your WP and the series overall?
What I love most? I love seeing how things have developed, especially things I didn't see coming, like when I first started out. I love seeing how far characters have come, or if you compare the very beginning of the series where characters are, like what their their powers are or their skills or their like just what their like morals or character is like, and then comparing to the end where they've gone through a lot and have either for the better or for the worse. So it's really cool to see, since I'm coming to the end of this series, it's cool to see like the comparison beginning and
Yeah,
end.
definitely.
Yeah.
That's something I love to see when I'm reading or writing, seeing how
Mhm.
the characters started out,
Yep.
and then see how they are now. Like that evolution of their
Mhm.
character and their growth is just so fun to watch.
Yeah, it really is.
Question 20. This is the last question. What are you most excited for readers to read once it's published?
I think like kind of I mean, I am excited for creators to see like how I wrap things up. Like I've definitely felt nervous about how I'll stick the landing. Like I don't want to mess up the ending. I know like a lot of people can be disappointed in the endings of series or all that stuff, so I don't want to mess up. I want it to be enjoyable. So I'm looking forward to hearing what they think of how I plan to do the end. I'm excited for them to uh I guess just reach the end of the journey with me. Like it's been several years I've been writing, and I would love to see what their reactions are once they get to the very end.
Well, I'm certainly excited to see the end because
Yay.
I've been loving this series.
Well, good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah. Uh, um, do you have like an idea of when you might be done?
I'd love to be done by the end of this year. I'd love to have it published by the end of the year. Um, I don't know if that'll happen. I think I'm approaching the halfway point of the book, like writing wise, but it just takes a long time when you've got a kid to juggle. So, it may be more like early next year, but I'm hoping definitely before the end of next year. Like that's for sure. It won't be any later than that.
Nice. Yeah. Uh, well, I'm so glad you could join us,
Thank
and
you for inviting me.
I'm so glad to hear you talk about the book 5 because I am so excited to read this out.
Me too.
uh, and I hope you can get some writing done because I know it can be hard with like I mean I'm not mommy or anything, but I do have a lot of little siblings that I
Yeah.
so I can't imagine.
Yes. A lot of
And
fires to put out.
yeah, so I hope you can get some writing time. Like I don't know if he's like sleeping through the night yet or anything.
Mostly, yeah, and usually
Yeah,
like when he's sleeping, I'll that's mostly when I get my writing time is when
yeah,
he's sleeping. Yeah.
well, I know that me, Robin, and Tiffany would love to have you on Sprints again once you're available.
Yeah, we can definitely talk about that in the DMs. I think I have a little more flexibility now. So,
Nice. That's
yeah,
good.
we can talk about that.
Okay, because we've been talking about doing another sprint because we haven't actually done any in a while. So
Okay.
maybe you could join us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much for joining me. For anyone who's new or came in a little bit late, I just wanted to remind you that I did put Tabby's Amazon author page in the description, the link for it, so you can just go and find her series really easy if you liked what we talked about today, because it's a great series. I definitely highly recommend it. I have loved reading it. I'm so excited for book 5, and I think you all will like it too.
Thank you. It's great to see you.
You too. So until next time.
All right. See you around.